How Manchester United beat Spurs. Hello, welcome back. I'm Statman Dave, and Man United have won 4 games in a row since February 2024 when Erik ten Hag was manager. Today, we're going to be talking about positional play versus a relational game. We're going to be talking about Man United's defensive approach once again allowed them to press high and score goals. And finally, a little bit on set pieces, because Man United, especially Jonny Evans, deserves a lot of credit for United's opening goal. Of course, you're new around here, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video. But anyway, let's get this party started. United started well, like they've done under Michael Carrick, and there's things that we're starting to see over each game that are starting to build a good pattern for the Man United head coach. In possession, United once again were excellent, building out from the back, using short passing combinations, but going direct at certain times. In terms of Man United, their key guy when building possession is Lisandro Martinez. United's best footballer when it comes to taking touches in those deep areas and playing line-breaking passes into the forwards, going quite direct, even looking over the top for Bruno Fernandes, or just moving the ball around, receiving it and getting it moving. Carrick has made Martinez the real hub of the team. Martinez made 21 passes into the final third, one fewer than the entire Spurs team managed combined, obviously ignoring their goalkeeper. But in terms of that approach that Man United have changed to, of course, their ball playing centre-back kind of being their playmaker from deep. The other thing that's really changed versus Ruben Amorim's tactics and setup has been this idea of positional play versus relational play. Positional play, as we know, is kind of using the pitch. It's spreading the play, it's having your wingers really wide, it's having your central midfielders and 10s and striker creating a sort of shape on the pitch. It's all based where they are, and you tend to not be focused too much on where the ball is. Michael Carrick, though, has gone the other way. Relationalism is a thing that really popped out of South America over the last few seasons. We did a cracking video on Deniz if you want to check out in a little bit more in-depth about those concepts. But just to keep it simple, obviously Carl Anker, my good friend, hammered me in the WhatsApp chats for using that term last week, so let's keep it simple. What I mean here is versus using the pitch, as Ruben Amorim did, having a very rigid structure and then having the team maybe move from position to position. Carrick is all about a focus on the ball, where the ball is, and then getting bodies around that. In terms of what United did really well against Spurs, and they've done this pretty well in certain games under Carrick, is overload the areas. So let's say a long ball's played out to Ahmad on the kind of right hand side. From a positional sense, you'd expect him to be in this wide position and there'd be kind of key spacing between himself and maybe Matheus Cunha on the inside. But the idea with Michael Carrick is very much different. What we tend to see with Michael Carrick's Man United is the entire team shift over to the ball area. Hence why we've got this kind of relational idea. The Man United now move around 6, 7 or even 8 players at certain times onto one part of the pitch, with only one real player, Bryan Mbeumo on the left wing, being a player that they can switch the ball out to, with the idea that you're overloading the opponents. Even if they move their central midfielder, their fullback and their other centre mid over, you've still got a 6-on-4, and this has led to some fantastic little moments of Man United passing play. Instead of it being positional, where you've got to really use the pitch to move the opponents around, now Man United are using the ball, short, intricate passes to create situations to then move the ball out to the far flank, trying to draw Tottenham over before exposing them on the other side. Again, this is a theme in positional play, but what United are doing now is they're really mobbing around the ball. Not only does that help in possession, but also counter pressure. If, for example, United were to, lose this ball in this situation, playing it around and dropping it to try and recycle. Let's say if Sarr's picked it up. The big thing with this idea and this approach is that instantly you can put pressure on the ball because all your team is overloading that area. But enough about the counter-pressing side, part of the game that I really love. Let's look about one of those passing moves early on in the game. So we pick up the play just inside 5 minutes as United are building out from the back. What I want you to notice here is the amount of United players around the ball. Ahmad's going to drop it off to Matheus Cunha in between the lines. But if we drop the ball back and rotate the possession in between that zone, we can clearly see these ideas of Michael Carrick. It's a 6-on-4. United have got 6 players in a short zone to recycle possession, hence overloading the pitch, allowing United to pop the ball round, work it wide before dropping it back, before going back inside. Then again, you've got another idea here. United are recycling the ball, now it's a 5-on-3. United have created another overload, which allows them once again to use a little bit of a rondo, a little bit of passing combinations to escape the pressure, get out the Spurs press, and be able to play the switch to allow United to attack the left flank. This is a key component going forward under Michael Carrick. Focus on the ball versus focusing on where they are on the pitch. After a really good opening half an hour for Manchester United, of course, Cristian Romero got himself sent off. A terrible challenge on Casemiro, but United were already in the driving seat and the red card sealed the game. However, we've seen United fail to capitalise on these situations, with just 5 wins in 9 matches against 10 men since the start of the 2025 season. But it's not just about free-flowing football under Carrick. He's been building on the great work Ruben Amorim's coaching team instilled from dead balls. Man United have now scored 13 goals from set pieces this season, not just the second most in the competition, but the most Man United have managed in a single Premier League season since the 2017-18 campaign, when Jose Mourinho was the manager and he guided United to second. In his words, his greatest ever achievement. But let's take a look at the 13th goal Man United have scored from set pieces this season, the opening goal coming from a really good move from corners. What I like about this is there's loads of different parts I want to break down. First and foremost, we see Casemiro and Luke Shaw blocking the opposite man. This is to create space for Mbeumo on the edge of the box. But also notice Kobbie Mainoo. He's currently standing looking quite uninterested. This is a really key part of set pieces. You want to appear that you're not really involved in the move, and then you want to spring into life like Mainoo does, running behind the goalkeeper, completely being free of any marker. Not only is that space available at the near post, because Spurs' zone is quite kind of tight on that near post area, but it also kind of feints and pulls the Spurs defence towards Kobbie Mainoo, once again creating even more space for Bryan Mbeumo at the edge of the box. But just look at what Casemiro is doing. Same with Matheus Cunha. They're arguably blocking that first Spurs defender, and it's really good from United. The touch is great from Kobbie Mainoo, and of course Mbeumo is on the edge of the box. But just look at the space that's been created. Also a shout out to Amad Diallo that pulls Xavi Simons over to stop him receiving, a short corner, creates even more space. And that was huge from Bryan Mbeumo to side foot the ball past Vicario. A brilliant set piece. And that was Bryan Mbeumo's 5th goal for Man United against the traditional Big Six sides this season. A big moment for a big game player. But this wasn't just a creative set piece move that was targeted after Spurs went down to 10 men. Because I noticed this, and it's a common theme under Thomas Frank. They tend to leave just one player on the edge, especially when you collapse all your players into the 6-yard area. And as you can see from these screenshots, against Bournemouth, West Ham and Borussia Dortmund, Manchester United scored a brilliant team goal from a set piece. Big credit to Johnny Evans, the Man United analyst, that also saw this. And of course, this was Kobbie Mainoo's 2nd assist in 4 Premier League matches under Carrick. He only had 1 assist in his previous 62 Premier League games. Very good thinking from Manchester United, and a lot of credit to the set piece coaching. From that point in the game, Man United were truly in control. Had a disallowed goal for Amad Diallo after just being offside after a really good move off the ball from Luke Shaw. But United, following that, really controlled all phases. And once again, I want to talk about Man United's pressing in a 4-4-2. It's a shape that allows United to really squeeze the opponent. And having Bruno Fernandes as one of the first pressers really adds intensity to United's structure. And I think what we've tended to see in certain games is, both the centre mids kind of being the ones dropping to squeeze the play. We saw Casemiro jump at certain times in this game, and it's starting to look a bit better. I was very critical of United's press against Fulham. I thought they had to change their shape and move more to a 4-3-2-1 than the 4-4-2 diamond that they were pressing Fulham in. But in this game, it was much better because United could revert back to the 4-4-2 diamond / 4-4-2, and it worked really well. And we saw that in Matheus Cunha's disallowed goal. Once again, we can see the key principles. United very much set up in a 4-4-2 shape, with Casemiro playing slightly higher because his man was Pape Sarr, who's currently in possession. What I like about United now is the intensity. They weren't really showing enough intensity under Ruben Amorim. That's got to be down to the players, maybe being motivated to play under a certain manager. But hey, we're not talking about that today. So as soon as Man United put the squeeze on, what I like what they do is they're forcing the opponents back. They're creeping up the pitch. We've seen Arsenal do this for about 3 or 4 seasons in a row now, and United are starting to get quite good in these moments and creating a very good quality of chance. So as Bryan Mbeumo puts a bit of a squeeze on Pape Sarr to force him back, we could see United's shape jump once again. What I like about this is United are containing their opponents. They're not allowing them to simply play the ball out. As Bruno jumps in this moment, he completely cuts out the Spurs defender on the far side. His body shape's good, his intensity is good. He forces back once again Spurs to play it backwards past the Dragerson. Bryan Mbeumo jumps on that situation. We've also got Casemiro at the tip of the diamond at this point on Pape Sarr, dealing with him in that situation. So United have basically blocked off all the passes, so they've got to go back to Vicario or play wide. As Mbeumo squeezes, we see Matheus Cunha, who was much better defensively against Spurs. I think this is his best defensive performance of the season, quite frankly. At times he did play as a 9, other times in this move we can see him defending on the left wing, but he puts the ball under pressure once again, and United have forced the ball back. His shape is cutting that ball into central midfield, and then Bruno is putting the squeeze on once again. This is the intensity that we wanted to see United play at for the past 3 to 4 years. This type of move. United have gone from defending in their mid-block to basically forcing Spurs back into their own third. The ball from Vicario is poor. Matheus Cunha once again reads the flight of the ball, steps in, plays it forward to Bruno Fernandes instantly, and Bruno links with Manu out wide. And United, once again, as like we saw against Arsenal and Manchester City, they've got a 4-on-2v situation on the back line for Spurs. Amad Diallo cuts inside, Matheus Cunha waltzes in and side foots the ball home. Of course, if we move the ball back, Bruno Fernandes is actually in an offside position when this pass is played, but big credit to Michael Carrick's 4-4-2 structure to really squeeze the game. And United were truly in control of the game, but I think they needed more. One of the problems with United over the last 12 months is they've not killed teams. They've not put games to bed. Think West Ham this season, think Burnley this season. There's been so many games where United have lacked a little bit of a ruthless edge with a goal lead. In fact, when you look at the games United have won this season, there's only been 5 times that they've scored 2 or more goals in their opposition. United needed to make a change, and this time Michael Carrick got it absolutely spot on. Sesko being brought on for Matheus Cunha. But more importantly, what I liked about the substitution is that Bryan Mbeumo moved back to the centre forward position and Bruno Fernandes to the left wing. This gave United a much better defensive structure. Bruno Fernandes is always going to track back. He's always going to create that band of 4. But as well with United now, they could go a little bit more direct with the pace of Bryan Mbeumo in behind the opposition's defence, like we've seen, and the hold-up play or the direct link play of Benjamin Sesko. Again, remember that moment against Chelsea where Sesko flicked it to Mbeumo, there was a red card, United got control of the game. Having that too as kind of the late game strike force is a great weapon for Michael Carrick. Pace and physicality on the counter. But of course, they scored a goal from a pretty bit of direct play that they couldn't really do before Sesko was brought on. Before that, it was about the likes of Cunha and Mbeumo, Bruno, all kind of operating in between the lines, being fed by Kobbie Mainoo. But after Sesko's introduction, now you can get crosses into the box. And that's how we saw United kill the game. One of the big improvements this season for Manchester United has been their intensity in terms of winning second balls. And it's super important for them as a side to not only win possession, but also be defensively more structured. In terms of where this goal starts, it starts from a Lomond's long ball. Lomond's looking to hit Benjamin Sesko, going a little bit more direct. Of course, Sesko doesn't win the duel, but Casemiro is there to read the flight of the ball and make the interception. For me, this was Kobbie Mainoo's best performance in a United shirt in terms of possession in the final third, making things happen and getting on the ball. And throughout this move, he is involved. One of the big things we want to see Kobbie do is get on the ball, move it round, receive again, roam around and play make, allowing Casemiro to sit as more of the ball winner. Again, as we kind of roll the play through, we see Kobbie Mainoo uses his good close control, ability to shield the ball, and then a good pass out to the flank. But he doesn't just stop there. As soon as that play is gone, he's the player that's kind of backing it up. You could see him just south of the shot there. Obviously, Bryan Mbeumo's making an underlapping run. Again, when you look at United's 4-4-2, not only is it getting a big man, little man combination, a little bit more old school, but it's also having players like Ahmad and Mbeumo on the same flank to allow them to combine. That was Ruben Amorim's best combination as a wing-back and a right attacker, but now as a striker and a right winger, it's closer to goal. Allows you to get behind the defence, as we see Bryan Mbeumo do here. But instead of being a little bit more direct, I think United do well in this situation to control the ball. Bryan Mbeumo's hold-up play is absolutely fantastic. He recycles possession to Diogo Dalot, and there's Kobbie Mainoo. He's roamed from that kind of deeper midfield position. He's followed the play and once again uses his body really well to draw in the pressure before shipping it to Diogo Dalot. He's created that space. He has pulled Matheus Tel out of position, which allows Dalot to take one touch and go direct into the penalty area. The movement from Sesko is fantastic, doesn't quite get on the ball, slips past, and of course, there is Bruno Fernandes on the back post. The key thing we mentioned previously, moving Bruno to the left wing is very important in terms of the defensive side, but you got to remember this guy knows how to score goals. So far this season, Bruno Fernandes has only scored 6 goals. I expect that to finish at least double figures by the end of the season. But 6 goals and 12 assists, only Erling Haaland's been directly involved in more goals this season. And of course, United going direct, scoring a goal, killing the game, it's so important. And for me, this was Kobbie Mainoo's best performance on the ball for United. He completed 33 of his 35 passes he attempted in the final third today, more than any other player. But also, only Bruno Fernandes, who created 6 chances, created more than Kobbie. This was much better from Manchester United, in terms of improvement, in terms of dominating possession. And with that goal, Bruno became the second fastest player to reach 200 goal involvements in the Premier League era for Manchester United. As I mentioned on the previous video, Bruno is going to be so key if United want to get into the Champions League. So in conclusion, Carrick isn't just getting the results, but he's implementing a very exciting style of play that looks like a Man United team of old. Lisandro Martinez has become a player that's so important. He's been great defensively, but also he's looked even better on the ball. Casemiro's playing some of the best football in a United shirt, and Bruno Fernandes has just reached that 200 goal involvements. And finally, Kobbie Mainoo literally looks like a new signing. Kobbie finished the game with the most dribbles completed, the second most chances created, the second most passes into the final third, and the most passes in the final third as well. United have improved under Carrick, and this relational idea suits these players better. And until the summer, United need to continue popping the ball, moving it around, playing quick football, being direct, pressing in a 4-4-2. And that fella might eventually be able to get his hair cut. But anyway, guys, I've been Statman Dave. Of course, if you're new around here, please hit that subscribe button, like the video. And anyway, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, why not check out some more content on the Statman Dave YouTube channel.